My guest today has traveled to over 95 cities and 52 countries as a journalist. But one place he never went until he was in his 60s was a local school board meeting. Now his passion is school board accountability and protecting kids from indoctrination and from what he calls suicide bullies. Every mom needs to hear what Bill Robinson has learned, so stay with us. Welcome to the Moms for America podcast. Each week, special guests tackle the issues facing the moms of America today. Discussions include personal stories and advice on how moms can build a strong foundation of faith, family, and freedom in their homes and country. Hi, moms. I'm Debbie Carlitis, your host, and welcome again to the podcast. We're so glad that you're joining us again this week. I love spending time with you and sharing great interviews every week with parents and people and authors and all kinds of folks that have great information that will help you, mama, in your journey through motherhood. Right here at the top of the show, I always invite everyone, would you please like, subscribe, share, even write a review? We would surely appreciate that because this is how we get our message out and help moms all across the country as they are raising the next generation of patriots. So also here at the front of the show, I do want to make sure that I invite everyone to join Moms for America. If you're not with us, would you please join the movement? How do you do it, Deb? It's super simple. You go to the website, momsforamerica.us, sign up for our newsletter, fill out an inquiry form. We will go ahead and check with you, help you find out about Moms for America groups in your area, or you can start one, let you know about all our webinars, seminars, all of our great information. So join the movement. We are moms united all across the country, fighting for faith, family, freedom, and the Constitution. I say this always, moms, because we're like the ultimate support group for you. So please go ahead and check us out at momsforamerica.us. Also, if you have an idea or a topic that you would like me to address here on the podcast, would you email me at podcast@momsforamerica.net? I would love to hear from you. All righty, on to today's episode. Well, you might not be familiar with the term suicide bullies, but this term and this phenomenon is very real. It's happening in schools all across the country. There have always been bullies, right? But this is something else. These are bullies who goad and prod their victims with suggestions that they kill themselves. This is so sad. Too often, these vulnerable kids do end up committing suicide. Our guest, conservative journalist Bill Robinson, writes on what is happening in the public schools for Newsmax. In his own small town of Asheville, North Carolina, last year, 7 young Christian girls killed themselves in 5 months. How absolutely tragic. Bill is so passionate, and he is literally fired up about protecting children from these bullies and the apathetic school administrators. Take a listen. Well, welcome, Bill, to the Moms for America podcast. We're so glad to have you.
I'm grateful to be here with you, Debbie.
I was saying this morning, you've got some good vibes here. Are you always this positive when we were chatting?
No, I'm not this positive when I'm in front of a hostile group of grooming school board members. I'm definitely not this pleasant and happy, but I'm happy to be with you.
You are. So we're excited for you to share this story because moms want to know what's going on so they can protect their own children. But before we actually get started, would you tell us a little bit about your family? Dad, grandpa?
Sure.
What do you got over there?
Well, I'm the father of 2 daughters and the grandfather of 2 more. So I take especially seriously. I take everything that's done to children and adults by evil people seriously, but especially for young girls. That's something that as Dante would say, a special circle in hell is reserved for these people. Yeah. And I am so angry and upset with these people. When you call them people, you have to use that term very loosely because what kind of person intentionally and with malice aforethought hurts a child? And right now in this country, the school boards are aiding and abetting. It's more than just being complicit. Complicit is just kind of being an idiot and standing on the sidelines and watching stuff happen. They are aiding and abetting. And just
Mhm.
like, say, I guess the best metaphor is Charlie Manson with the Manson family. He wasn't going out and committing murders, but he was certainly behind them. And
Wow.
that's what these school board
Yeah.
members are. We have to get rid of the school boards. The old Sicilian
Yeah,
proverb
I
is
believe so.
the fish stinks from the head down. So we could clean up our schools and fumigate our
Yep.
schools, but if we leave the rotten school boards in place, we're never going to get anywhere.
Well, Bill, like you said, don't mess with you when it comes to the kids here. So I could see how, you really are extremely passionate about this. Let's talk a little bit about your background, your
Sure.
history, your profession, right? Lifelong journalist, covered a wide variety of topics, traveled the country. How did you end up so passionately about writing about America's public schools? How did this take us to the beginning so we
Sure.
understand the conception of it? Then we'll go ahead and talk about some things that are happening.
Well, I started as a business journalist, writing, appearing on CNN and writing for a Wall Street Journal and Fortune and Forbes and the Financial Times. I wrote for virtually every business publication that I wanted to write for. And then I morphed into a technology journalist and learned a lot about different softwares and the emerging internet and wireless technologies, et cetera. And then in 2010, I had a kind of a chance encounter with Ariana Huffington at the UN.
Mhm.
And it was at that point that I decided something had to be done about what was going on in America. And I confronted her and I said, you've got a problem here. And she said, what is this? And I said, the problem is that more than 50% of America's readers won't touch the Huffington Post because they're conservative readers and they look at you with disdain. And she said, oh, what do I do? I said, you hire a real conservative writer like me. And that's she said, oh, she said, why is it such a problem? I said, because your ad revenue suffers if you don't have half of the potential market out there. So she said,
Yeah.
could you come in at 3 o'clock tomorrow and meet with me and my editors? I did. I mean, she's virtually the enemy. So it took a lot of biting of my tongue to go through this conversation with her. But then I ended up writing for Huffington Post for over 8 years. And I was the only conservative columnist for them. I was
Wow.
going after the Obama administration. This is 2010, just going after him and that whole regime that was
Yeah.
so harmful to this country.
A lot of material there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up getting nominated for a Pulitzer Prize while I was there, which is very rare for a Christian conservative like me. And then I moved on to Newsmax, and I've been writing for Newsmax for almost 5 years now.
All right. Well, that now we know that this is someone who is a investigative. They understand a story. So you kind of ran into your own story that really personally affected you, right? In your
Yes.
area of Asheville, with young girls, with suicide. Tell us about what happened. Did you go to a school board meeting, and how did this start?
So I live in Nashville, which is really the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
I'm from New York, so I know what being around insufferable Democrat communists is like. But in Asheville, it's really bad per capita. It's right up there. It's as bad as New York, Chicago, or LA. But more importantly, it's in this triad of Asheville, Austin, Texas, and Berkeley, California. This is where the people are really completely off their rockers and have seized control of the public school system.
Yeah.
And they're destroying our children. So I lead a small patriot group in Asheville that's trying to make a difference and trying to fight back against this monolithic trans queer insanity in our schools, our public schools. And I got a call from one of the ladies there who goes to a small Baptist church in a small suburb of Asheville. And she said, Bill, something is happening here. One of our young girls hung herself the other day.
Mm.
And I said, oh, what's that all about? And she said, well, she committed suicide because she was being bullied at school, but her grandparents and her parents had no idea what was happening. And so
Mm.
when I came to find out, she said, do you want to come to the memorial service? And I said, yes. And so I went to the memorial service, even though I didn't know the girl or her family, but I went to pay my respects and had my spirit crushed that day a little bit because I do have two daughters and granddaughters, and the death of a 13-year-old girl who hung herself. She was loved by everybody in the school except for a small group of insane children sanctioned by the school board and the principals and the assistant principals and the teachers. Let's not forget the counselors and the librarians who are also just rotten to the core. I mean, our entire school system is
Yeah.
crumbling because of rotten people. So I went to the funeral, to the memorial service, and there was a picture of her in her soccer uniform. The whole school was there. The church was packed. Her soccer team came in their soccer uniforms, and a young
So
lady, her
sad.
best friend, sang. And it was so hard for me because I had been to both of my parents' funerals, and they were sad, but my parents led full lives. There's nothing worse for a parent, myself or anybody who's a parent,
No.
than to see a 13-year-old girl with so much potential. We had no idea whether she would have been a mom of six
Oh,
or
of
a Nobel
course.
Prize winner or an attorney, whatever. We have no idea what she would have become because she was forced into a position where she had no choice. Her little 13-year-old mind that's still developing was destroyed by an evil school board and an evil public school
Okay,
system.
let's stop here because you keep saying it's an evil school board, an
Mhm.
evil system. How did that system play into a girl committing suicide?
So, so her best friend, and I've gotten close to both the families of her name is Kylie Wilhelm, 13-year-old
Okay.
seventh grader, and her best friend who sang at her service, at her
Okay.
memorial service. When her best friend walked out of the church, there were a bunch of kids gathered outside the church, and the kids said to her, "Kylie was an idiot. You should kill yourself too." So
Mm,
the suicide bullies were there. And there's a new form of bully. It's a suicide bully.
all right.
They're not saying you're fat. They're not fat shaming. They're not saying nobody likes you, although that's part of it, certainly still, like when we were kids. But now
Mhm.
they're saying you should kill yourself. And if you don't kill yourself, we're going to beat you up and leave you out back by the dumpster. Or we're
Okay,
going to.
let me clarify this because we haven't explained what suicide bully is happening in the school. So this girl was terrorized by suicide bullies
That's right.
at the school, and
Hmm.
this is kind of a posse of ultra mean girls, horrible, or maybe it's boys too, I don't know, and they taunt um their classmates to kill themselves?
Yes, exactly. And so let me give you the people who are responsible for this in the school, the kids, and they're being spurred on by the principals and their teachers who are all these, it used to be you couldn't judge a book by the cover, but now you're seeing green haired teachers with nose piercings who are just filling the kids with hate for Christian conservative kids, for their classmates.
I see what
And
you're
so,
saying.
and so it works in another, they use
Mm,
an army of a couple of different types of kids. One is there are roaming bands of trans queer girls that go through the halls. They're in the lunchrooms. They're outside when the kids leave, before the parents pick them up, before they get on the school bus. They ride with them on the school bus. They terrorize them every single minute of the 8+ hours a day that a parent increasingly leaves the child in the public school. And now for most parents, it's just like they're saying, I can't leave my child in there. So,
no.
so that's the first one, is the trans queer hordes of girls. And they go after Christian conservative girls. I saw your great interview with Amy Henry, and
Mhm.
you were both kind of wondering why they were targeting her daughter. They targeted her daughter because she was a nice girl with Christian values, and probably supported President Trump, probably believed in God and the power of prayer. And
Mhm.
those are the people they hate on. The other group, besides the roaming hordes of trans queer girls, are the furries. Now, this is a form of cosplay psychosexual thing that adults were involved in, and somehow it's gone to school children. So I'm
Mhm.
not talking about kids who wear like cat ears and paint whiskers on their face. They wear full costumes with mechanized tails. So they're in tiger costumes, and the tails go up behind them and move around. They lope around the hallways on all fours, and then they go into class, and the teachers say to them, "Oh, so what's a squared plus b squared equals c squared?" And they go meow. So they completely disrupt the class. There's no learning going on anymore. The school systems, these particular schools and many others around the country, have no money left for books or homework or real teachers that teach anything but gay pride, genital mutilation, and puberty blockers. It's crazy. So the girl that went out and and was immediately confronted by bullies, suicide bullies, I call them, because
Mhm.
it's not the regular bullies. Their sole goal is to get these kids who won't cooperate, who won't start taking puberty blockers, who won't say
Right.
they're
Or who
lesbians.
d right, or
It's,
who do not
it's
accept or embrace, the same ideals that this group does. And I think really, I just wanna clarify what you're saying is that you're feeling like the teachers, which I agree with you, some teachers are creating an atmosphere, that is intolerant and brutally confrontational within the school. They're like a culture of hate. And then these young girls who are, challenged with their either sexuality or
confused.
identity,
Yeah.
confused, I mean, that are just
Mhm.
having real mental issues, are very susceptible to jumping on this hate train. And then this becomes their passion at the school. Bullying used to always be mean girls. This is a whole new level. Right.
Well, and from what I heard from Amy Henry is that the schools are ignoring it, and they
Right.
are.
And
They
they
did
are.
nothing, so that makes them criminally responsible for what happens. And so
Yeah.
the young lady that sang at her best friend's funeral, she goes outside. They immediately started on her. When she went back to school the next 2 days later, she got a text from a Ukrainian boy. That's ironic. And it said you have to kill yourself now. Now that Kylie's killed herself, now you need to kill herself. And this 12-year-old girl told me, she said, you know what happens when they succeed with one girl, they immediately go after her friends. So that's what this was part of.
Wow.
This is a planned thing. So they went after her best friend right after their success, right? In kind of sick quotations, right
Right.
after the success of getting a 12-year-old girl to kill herself. And so and so she got this text from this boy, and the mother, of course, took her to the police department immediately, and they said,
Yeah.
"Okay, great, we're going to get right on it, and we have the text, we know who it's from, it's the phone number's right there," and
Mm.
they get right on it, and so they said, "We'll get back to you," and then she took it to the principal of the school. He said, "Yeah, we'll get right on this. He's going to pay a heavy penalty for this."
'Cause
And
they
all
know
this,
who this is now. They know who
they
is
knew who the boy was who made the suicide threat via text. And so the next day, when she wasn't with her mother, she was in class. She came, and the principal came to the class and asked to speak to her, took her out in the hallway and said, I need to borrow your phone. I'll give it back to you next period. When she got it back the next period, the text was deleted. That's criminal. I mean, see, this is not just,
what?
and one of the things I'm avoiding this thing about not all of them, because we all used to say this, not all of the teachers, not all of the school boards, not all of the principals. When you're talking about something as serious as
Right.
our children's lives, because they are taking our lives now, it wasn't enough to maim them or get them on puberty blockers.
Mhm.
Now they're actually taking their lives if they won't cooperate with their rotten, evil, satanic plans. And so I've stopped saying that because it's safer to
Mm.
assume they're all evil and proceed accordingly. If we start making exceptions and saying, well, maybe there's a good teacher, I'll tell you, the good teachers that are remaining in the school system are first of all, there are few, because it's just like defunding the police. When you get
It
rid
is
of the
few.
good police officers, you're left with the bottom of the barrel, the dregs. And so the same thing is happening in our schools. It's been a slow process, but haven't you heard of good teachers just saying, I'm not teaching anymore. I can't be in a public
Oh,
school.
well, there is a whole movement within the
There
teachers
is.
movement to take back the schools, regain education, regain the school board. So we do see a lot of positive movement, but the battle is huge, especially in certain states, especially in certain school districts. The battles are raging clearly from parents to teachers to school boards and education. So let's finish this discussion here. So now these bullies, you feel, were 100% allowed to kind of do what they're doing because the school now is erasing texts. What did the school do to protect these kids? This
They do
girl,
nothing.
other
They do
Christian
nothing.
girl.
They put them in jeopardy, and they keep them in jeopardy. And so and around this time, I'm getting more information about the best friend of Kylie. I'm also finding out there's been more suicides. So I found out that eventually I discovered that there were 7 suicides of young girls in
In
this
this same
school,
area.
in this county, in the city of Asheville and the
Oh,
surrounding county. We're talking about an area of
horrible.
200,000 population. And so the idea that 7 young girls would commit suicide from January 1st last year to May 12th of last year, we have no idea how many more kids have either attempted or committed suicide from May 12th of last year to now, because the school boards are very adept at covering everything up. The last thing they want is any press about a school, a girl that committed suicide. And so they go to the parents and they say, oh, this is a horrible tragedy. And we really don't want you talking to any press about it.
Mm,
We really don't want to publicize that it was a suicide. Of course, the parents are grieving beyond compare, and
of course.
they don't want any publicity about how their daughter committed suicide. So there are really only 2 confirmed examples of suicides in this area. But I proceeded back to the idea that you don't say, not everyone is like that. I assumed that what I was hearing from other parents and other concerned individuals in this area was true, that 7 girls had committed
Mhm.
suicide since the beginning of last year. So what I found, I started going before the school board and saying 7 girls have committed suicide. School board said, yes, oh, it's an awful tragedy. We've been fighting bullying for a long time. And I'm like, you're not fighting bullying. You're creating these suicides because you're starting with the pronoun pins. You move on to reading the dirty books. This is how it goes. This is how
Mhm.
groomers work, right?
Yeah.
Pronoun pins, they bully them into changing their pronouns. They give them little stupid pins to wear around school, and then they take them back from them before they go home so the parents don't see them. The dirty books, they do the same thing with the books because they don't want us to find out about that. But we found out about all that. The furries, they've been denying that the furries exist, but the furries do exist. I have videos of them, and I put them in 2 Newsmax articles I wrote about these schools. And so the furries exist. They've been saying, oh, they don't exist. That's
Right.
insane. These people are off their rockers. No, the furries exist. It's just the puberty blockers, the mute
Oh, right.
secrecy. It just goes on and on and on. So when I found out about the 7 suicides, I went before the school board, and for 6 or 7 months, I was constantly berating them about the suicides. After they said, "Oh, it's a terrible tragedy," then they started saying, "Well, this is the suicides of trans, queer, very confused children." And I've got a lot of sympathy for confused children. What I don't have sympathy for is confused, sick adults who are impaling young children with their own political and sexual ideologies. That's what's happening here. So finally, the school board admitted that there were 7 suicides. So I had
Okay.
confirmation of the other 5.
Okay.
And so I knew that was true. I just knew it was. And then they finally admitted it after monthly batterings by me and some other people. And and it's all part of Marx's hatred of the nuclear family. When you refer to the nuclear family, that's what Marx wants you to do because it makes it sound so unemotional. This is a family with American values, with real family values that believes in a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and
Yeah.
adults don't abuse children they don't know and don't kidnap them and you put them into sexual slavery. I mean, the whole thing it's like Sound of Freedom in our schools right now.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's all related to Marx. If you believe in open borders and destroying our economy, you sure as heck believe in destroying the sexuality and the future of our children.
Wow. So horrific. Where are we now in this school district? And again, the parents that are listening, I want them to understand that suicide bullies, this is wrapped up in all kinds of terrible things that are happening in the schools. And I don't know if parents really know that their kids this could be happening to them. Has the school made any, like you said, they made some admissions. Have they made any changes in policy? And what are your suggestions for parents that are listening right now?
Well, so their only admission was we're starting a suicide prevention program that involves once a kid makes a call to a friend and says, I've had enough, I'm checking out, then all of a sudden they swing into action. It's a day late and a dollar short. It shows no
Sure
concern
is.
for
Yeah.
the lives of children. What can parents do? Oh my gosh. So I just attended, I'm 65 years old. I just attended my first school board meeting last year, and I have children and grandchildren. I mean, I'm ashamed to admit that, but parents have to swing into action. And I'm not suggesting anybody go and get arrested, as I'm certainly willing to do. What I'm suggesting is parents go and put their butts in the seats there and at least sit and listen objectively to what these people are talking about. because
Right.
it becomes patently obvious very quickly that
Yeah.
they have evil intent for our kids. So do that. Homeschool your kid if you possibly can. It doesn't mean
Hmm.
you have to homeschool them alone anymore. You can. There's a lady near here
There's
who
all
put
kinds of
together a
options. Yeah.
community of parents who are homeschooling, so that one parent takes the group of children every month, and then they're free to do their work and whatever else they have to do. And it's a community of sharing homeschooling. They do that. Charter schools, private schools, if you can afford it. I mean, I'm just stunned at millennials and Gen Zers who are making big money working for tech companies, and they're putting their kids in public school. I'm like, no, please, if you have enough money, put your child in a private school, a Christian academy, one that
Hmm.
has good Christian values. That's where your child's going to get the best education. But at the end of the day, I think what's coming is the complete and utter demolition of the public school system. It's
Yeah.
going to be a shame for we're going to come up with alternatives for the lower income families that have
Hmm.
children to be educated, because
Parallel education system. We're talking about this all the time because we can.
we
Yeah.
have to take these people down, because they're not going to change willingly. And the only way is to just, so in North Carolina, where I live, there's some incredible news. We're making great progress. A lot of our parents are going viral. There's a real feeling of Loudoun County, Virginia 2020. We need to keep that going. We need more
Yeah.
Loudoun counties. We should have never stopped with that. But it
Yeah.
was a great accomplishment at the time. Um, Between 2022 and 2023, the total amount of children enrolled in North Carolina public schools went from 97% to 87%. That's a drop of 10% of all
Hmm.
children in public schools. And it's going to
Clearly.
destroy them financially. It's going to hit them in the purse. So they can't hire more DEI consultants, and they can't handle more, they can't hire more transgender, trans queer counselors. But we have to really, I'm increasingly starting to believe that we have to get rid of the public school system entirely, because parents, get your kids out of these schools. This is not just happening here. Suicide's up 103%
It
among
sure
school
is.
children
Yeah.
in North Carolina alone. It's happening all over the place.
And
So
so young. It used to be like, well, when I was in high school, right? We never heard, I think it was like one person that commit suicide in all of my high school. We never really heard
yes,
about it. And then it
yes,
became more and more. And then now it's becoming like a movement. And it's so sad. And I just think too, we've talked a lot about this on the Moms America podcast, that parents have to just recognize the signs right away, make drastic changes with their children, pull them out of that atmosphere, protect them, do everything they need to do, because they are so susceptible, especially if they're dealing with autism, or if they're on the spectrum, or if they have a low self-esteem. And I think that's exactly what you're saying, Bill. These suicide bullies come after those that are weak or confused or sad or brokenhearted, and they just prey on them.
they do.
They know the strategy, and they know what to do. And like you're saying, just the fact that the one girl had lost her best friend and they immediately came after her, of course she's brokenhearted. She would be the easiest one to push into something horrific. So parents, the job is getting more and more complicated, but we are the greatest defenders of our children. And I know that is what your heartbeat message is, Bill. Defend our children and do all that it takes. If they're in the educational system, rethink it. And if you feel like there's any problems going on, just know that there are kids that are beyond mean girls now. They will do anything because the hate has grown so big in the schools. The
Yes.
division is so wide now.
Well, there's one other thing the parents can do that, and I suggest they do. Amy Henry has a heck of a civil lawsuit against that school,
Right.
and so there's a one. Just take one California law firm. On September 13th, 2023, this law firm obtained a $27 million settlement against Moreno Valley Unified School District, the largest school bullying settlement in U.S. history. Now, the difference between a settlement and a jury verdict is the school districts knew that they were wrong and knew that they faced a $100 million jury verdict. So they settled for $27 million of taxpayer money. Of course, that resulted in the school board being wiped clean and the schools being completely just renovated in terms of the personnel there. That same law firm
Hmm.
has also gotten incredible judgments. It's just one law firm, $102 million verdict for two students sexually abused and groomed by their band teacher, $100 million settlement for multiple plaintiffs in the Santa Monica School District. The city of Santa Monica covered up the abuse. A $45 million jury award for a minor who was
Look at
assaulted with
that.
as many as 15 different men in her school. And an
Hmm.
$8 million settlement for a 15-year-old girl sexually abused and kidnapped by her teacher at San Gabriel Mission High School.
Yeah.
So there are options. The only thing that I can tell you that the school boards are really afraid of is publicity and lawsuits.
Right.
So we have to start suing these people for wrongful death when there's bullying involved, for attempted murder when like Amy Henry's daughter, was so horribly abused by a complicit school board. So really get tough with these people. Strap on
Yeah.
your helmets, strap on God's armor, and get serious with these people, because when they start saying publicly, we're here, we're queer, we're coming after your children. When they
Yeah.
start saying, when Joe Biden says there's no such thing as other people's children, that's time to draw a line in the sand
That's
and
right.
start fighting.
Yeah, well, these mamas are, and so appreciate your insight, your energy, your passion. It is disturbing on all levels, but this is what we have to do, right? We have to raise awareness. We have to write about it like you are in your articles. We have to speak about it at the school boards, and we have to let parents know that things like this are happening so they can protect, guide, and nurture their kids. And those mama bears, I'll tell you, they will not let anyone come between them and their kids. So I think you've inspired our moms to figure it out and to listen and to get involved, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Fight on, moms and dads and grandparents. Just fight on.
Yeah, and you keep us posted and keep writing, and we'll watch what you're doing out there. Thanks for your passion, sir.
Thanks so much. It was so nice meeting you, Debbie.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Bye.
Boy, what a sobering discussion that was with Bill. But it needs to be said, and we need to be talking about it. Again, moms, please share this podcast with any of your mama friends where their kids may be susceptible to this or dealing with this. We must stop this. So thanks again, Bill, and we do appreciate your time with us today. Moms, just on that note, I do want to let you know that we have so many webinars and seminars regarding all of these topics. We have booklets that will help you with your rights as a parent. We have gender confusion. We have critical race. We have social emotional learning. All of those booklets are on our website. And again, our seminars, our webinars, we are here to help you with all of these tough topics. Another topic that we offer to our moms is our signature program, and that is called the Cottage Meetings. You can find that information on our website as well. It's 12 lessons that will inspire and educate you about America's amazing heritage and teaching those those incredible principles of liberty to your kids, teaching hope, infusing them with encouragement and just America and the dreams that they have in this country. I know the world is telling them that it is hopeless, but we are teaching them that it is full of hope. So please check out our cottage meetings. All that, again, is on our website, momsforamerica.us. Sign up for our newsletter. We will be contact you once a week with information about the programs and the special events that we have all across the country. So please sign up, moms. Every week, I just want you to be encouraged, inspired, knowing that you are the heartbeat of America. You are the heartbeat of your home. You are truly the greatest protectors. You are the mama bears. So keep protecting, keep fighting, and keep saving America for your kids. So we love you, moms. We remind you this every week. We are changing our world one home at a time. Stay strong, and I hope to see you next week. God bless.